Hi, have you ever wondered what light language is? Well, in this particular video, we're going to find out. So my name is Meredith Lego, and I am doing a whole series of YouTube videos on the science of ascension or the expansion of consciousness. And I've been able to collect a lot of information by basically channeling or connecting with extra dimensional beings who are, basically at the point where they don't necessarily have physical form, but we are able to basically learn from them on, the experiences that they have had and some of the things that we would start to experience in our own evolution as a species. And one thing that I had heard about and learned about, let's say over the last 3 years or so, is the concept of light language. And if you're somewhat involved in the community of Ascension, if you will, you're going to see different channelers who channel light language, which basically, can sound like different languages that could be coming through. There's different channelers who basically focus on it. And I've tested it out. I've tried it out just out of curiosity, but it just didn't really resonate with me. And maybe I was holding on too much to I don't know. Maybe I was too reserved about it, and that's why I wasn't necessarily connecting or resonating with the concept of light language. But I was curious about it and wanted to learn more about it. So in this particular session, I connected to the collective consciousness group that I've been able to connect with and asked them what is light language. But I think this is a pretty good answer. So they basically said that light language is the flowing of energy that comes in the form of light encoded energy packets. Like chi, the flow comes into the designated electromagnetic frequency of a being and are received within the DNA and central nervous system and transmuted into a communicable substance. So again, it's like chi. So it's flowing energy that comes in the form of light encoded energy packets. It comes into the electromagnetic frequency of a being, if you will, so a person, and it's received within the DNA and the central nervous system and then transmuted into a communicable substance. So this was helpful for me because while I'd seen lots of people try it, I never knew exactly how it happened. So this particular piece of information that I got from the collective consciousness group was helpful for me to understand or identify a definition of light language. The energy is source information that has a frequency and is and the being or the person receiving their frequency allows that energy to emanate from their physical form through a physical method like writing, singing, speaking, dancing or movement, or healing. So in essence, the body is a transistor and a conductor of a frequency like a radio. So I also found this to be interesting because I guess I always assumed that, light language came through in like types of channeling, if you will. But what they're implying here is that it really can take the form, and later they used the word expression, but it can come out in, in form in any way through the actual physical body. So the idea of just even doing movement or dancing. And, if you kind of think about it, you see a lot of very, very talented artists out there who essentially could be painting, they could be singing, and it's like they're in another zone. But essentially what's being implied here is that they too are bringing through light language, if you will. It's just the energy or the codes that are found within light. So they're bringing that through. So even healing is a form of light language. So light is resident or resident in all surrounding, in all fields and space-time. So the code is always available to be tuned into. When a receiver is intentional in desire to download or tune into the code, the frequencies resonate. And then what I heard in parentheses, in other words, you unlock the code. and the information or the energy will be received or magnetically attracted to the being. The human DNA and bones are piezoelectric in nature, meaning they can take an electrical charge through mechanical force of tension or compression. This is because they have properties similar to crystals. And why is that surprising? Since you are of the earth elements. And so I think what they were basically saying is that, if you kind of go back to the beginning, they're basically saying that the light language is basically flowing of energy. It's kind of forms of light encoded information, and it ends up kind of magnetically being drawn into our DNA and our central nervous system. And through that, it's transmuted into a form that we kind of express through our body in some form or fashion. So we're kind of like, conducting it, if you will, like a radio. And what they're saying is that the human DNA and the bones are piezoelectric in nature, meaning that they can take that electrical charge. And they're basically saying, so why is that surprising? You shouldn't be surprised by that, because essentially your bones are very similar to crystals. And I did a past video on the idea that bones are crystalline in nature. And this came up in that particular channeling session that I got. So they're saying, and you shouldn't be surprised by this, because essentially you are the same components as earth elements. So if you think about it, our DNA came from the earth. We are of the earth. So it's not surprising that we would have crystalline material within our own body structure. So the human body, so this is interesting. They say, so the human body is a tuning fork, picking up energy information packets, which then emanate through physical expression. The key is for the being to allow the energy to flow with no judgment or doubt. Free flowing, like new fallen rain, making a new river path through the dirt. The more the ego is subdued, the more the energy flows unrestricted. So pretty interesting. So the energy is, so we're kind of like a tuning fork. We're essentially tuning into the energies. And by the way, if we're not free of energy blockages, then our tuning fork isn't going to quite work at the right, tune, I guess, that it should work at. And I thought it was, I love the fact that they basically said, the key is to allow it to come in with no judgment or no doubt. And if I think about my experiences of trying to channel what I perceived as being light language, I did have doubt there. So I had judgment within myself, and that's possibly why I wasn't resonating, with the experience. But I guess one could argue that my very nature of being able to channel information essentially is channeling light language, but it's not coming out in, a language that I can't understand, if you will. So I'm channeling it, and it's kind of transmuting or interpreting through, ways that I would understand how to interpret the information into the English language. So they basically, again, said that free flowing of energy is like new fallen rain, making a new river path through the dirt. And if you kind of think about it, water, I guess you could say, flows. And I'm so surprised by how many times I get the reference to flowing, water, river, wind, so things that basically flow. There's constantly referencing to flowing when it comes to energy. But I think the most important thing is that that energy you have to let it flow where it wants to go. So the more and more that you try and fight or resist the flow, the more that you create the blockages. I think in that, you're just, it's like trying to, swim upstream. You can continue to kill yourself swimming upstream, or you can just let go, surrender, and let the river take you where it's going to go, basically. And when you fight or give up the desire of sort of, trying to go upstream. When you give that up, you're giving up your ego desire to control the situation. And when you do that, you'll allow more of the energy to flow unrestricted, and you'll get basically more of that light language sort of coming in. So that's what I took away from that message. So I thought that was actually amazing stuff, and it certainly taught me more about light language, sort of beyond what I've kind of seen in the community. Gave at least a definition that resonates with me, and helped is helping me and hopefully you understand how it is that it actually kind of interacts with our physical DNA. So with that, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Now, if you're new to the channel and you like the content, I encourage you to basically sign up for alerts and subscribe so that you know when new content is coming, and give it a thumbs up. That helps me understand basically what resonates with you and what doesn't. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in future videos. Thanks. Bye.